Hi, everybody. Mike King from Profiling Evil. Tonight, I joined Vinnie Politan and the CourtTV team looking into the missing person case of a woman named Cieha Taylor down in Florida. I met online with Cieha's mom and Vinnie to talk about this case, which I find really intriguing. In fact, you're going to see in this short clip where I go in and look at some of the geography surrounding this case, map it out, and talk about why it's significant. I think you're going to enjoy this segment. And make sure that you put some comments down below of what you think happened to Cieha Taylor. If you know something, please say something. Now let's play the show.
Investigators say Cieha Taylor had just left her boyfriend's house nearly a mile away. Plant City police found her car left running on the railroad tracks, her belongings inside.
Every day is different. Some days I'm just broken, hurt. Some days I'm angry.
But one feeling that remains constant, Ceiha Taylor's hope that she'll one day see her daughter again.
She used to do something that would irritate me sometimes, but it was hold my hand all the time. Even as old as she is, she would want to hold my hand when we were in the store, and I thought about it the other day. I said, I miss that.
It's a situation that just doesn't add up for Ceiha.
As soon as I realized the conditions of the car, I knew immediately something's wrong. She wouldn't just walk away from her life.
And just weeks after police found Cieha's car, her mother says her shoes were found just up the road.
I felt that they were placed there, and it was somebody maybe was remorse.
By now, Ceiha Taylor was hoping for more answers.
There's no trace, there's no evidence, there's nothing. So it's like we're sitting from the very day that we found her car until now, there's nothing.
Instead, time has seemingly stood still.
It's kind of like a twilight zone.
While the sheriff's office continues to follow leads, they're hoping their new cold case podcast called Unfinished Business helps bring answers for families like the Taylors.
These cases are extremely heartbreaking, even devastating to the families of these victims. We're hoping that this will generate new leads.
Somewhere, someone knows something. So maybe if they're seeing that the family's just not going away quietly in the night, we really are going to continue to look for it until we find closure.
Anyone with information on this case is asked to call the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office.
All right, folks, there's the phone number to the Sheriff's Office, 813-247-8200. 813-247-8200. We'll keep that number up. Don't worry, it's not going away. We'll keep it up through the segment. You'll see it. But if you have information, please reach out. Do the right thing, because as her mom said in the piece, I know someone out there knows something. Let's bring in our guest joining us tonight from Salt Lake City, Utah, the host of the Profiling Evil podcast. He's also retired police commander. Mike King is with us. Mike has a new book available called Deceived, an investigation memoir of the Zion Society cult. Also joining us from Florida, the mother of Cieha Taylor, Ceiha Taylor, joining us by phone. Welcome to you both. Ceiha, I want to begin with you. First of all, our thoughts are with your family tonight, and that's part of the reason that we do what we're doing at this time of the program every night. But tell us about Cieha. I don't know her. The folks at home don't know her. We've seen some pictures, and she looks like quite a character. She looks like someone who really knew how to have fun. Tell us a little bit about Cieha.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Cieha, ever since she was born, she's just been this bubbly, and I had said it when loud, and loved life. She loved nature, animals, and yes, she loved to have fun no matter what it was, and she was spontaneous. She wasn't one of those that wanted to plan for anything. So it's like, get up, let's go to the beach today. But she had just this wonderful outlook on life and positive. Like one of her quotes were, "An attitude of gratitude can and will change the world." And she said it often. So
last year, what was going on in her life? Right around the time that she disappeared, who was she spending time with? What was she involved with? What was she working? Was she going to school? What was she doing?
She had a job, but unfortunately, she was making some really bad choices that I wasn't agreeing with. So what we call the boyfriend, which I never approved of that relationship because I didn't see it as a real relationship. And so me and her, it was putting a strain on our relationship. So then, like 3 weeks prior to her disappearance, she was basically living out of her car, a friend that lives in Lakeland, and then between the boyfriend's house. So, and I could see it spiraling out of control, the choices that she was making and hanging out with this group of people.
So, a couple of things that you mentioned in the piece that we heard you say. You talked about the conditions of the car. What can you tell us about the condition of her car, and what did it tell you?
Well, because we found it 3 days later on the side of the road with the keys and the phone, all of her personal belongings locked in it. Once the sheriff's department explained to me how they found it running and her phone on the ground, I knew immediately something was wrong because she would never do that. I just got her the car in November for her birthday.
And let me bring in Mike King. Mike, I want to start with the car and what Ceiha just described to us. What do you see significant about that, and what are some of the things that it tells you, Mike?
Yeah, I think a couple of things that troubled me right off the bat was that the sheriff's office didn't take that vehicle into safekeeping, just impound it for safekeeping because of the situation. Her personal belongings there. The vehicle was pulled over the railroad tracks with the back tires still on the tracks. Now, Vinnie, my understanding is that rail line hasn't been used for some time, so I don't know that there's risk of that car being hit, but we don't know that she knew that if she purposely did that. And so that becomes a question of what was the purpose of it being there, or if she even placed it there, or if somebody else staged it and dropped the car there to create this image.
And Mike, I know you've provided us with some maps. I want to take a look at the first one, which is the vehicle location that you put together for us. What do you see as significant in this?
So I think it's interesting. We can see what law enforcement did. If we look at the far right side of the image that everyone's looking at, vehicle discovered. This was about the center point of where the vehicle was sitting. It was pushed off to where you see the point that says vehicle moved. So they just barely get it off the road. And again, locking it up rather than taking it into safekeeping is kind of an interesting question. But then as we talked more with Ceiha and heard about the searches that they've done, we see that the missing posters get put clear to the left side of that image, which is facing west if we were looking at this with a compass. And after about 10 days of searching, that poster had been up. Then all of a sudden the shoes show up in this really prominent position where vehicles driving by, family looking, show up. And so again, it's like those are staged and dropped off, and that becomes really intriguing. And I know Ceiha has talked about whether it might be a show of regret or remorse on the offender's part, or the people that might know something, or frankly, it may be just something more sadistic and people just being mean.
Yeah, Ceiha, what can you tell us about where the shoes were found, under what circumstances, and at what point?
Well, it was the manager, like the office manager that works at the Foxy Farms, that strawberry distribution. She was coming in, I think, from lunch, and because we'd exchanged numbers, she notified one of us that, hey, is this Kaya's shoes? And immediately when I saw the pictures, I said, oh, yeah, those are her shoes, because I gave them to her. So I called the detective. Immediately he went out there and took them in as evidence. But we knew they weren't there because, like he was saying, we put a flyer, a missing person flyer, on one of our searches on the February 14th. And we went to every mailbox in that area, because you can't put it in, but we could tape it to the mailboxes. So we knew the shoes weren't there. Also, I walked my dog over in that area just to get away from the group of people for a minute to catch, some air. And I know for a fact those shoes weren't there. And then shortly after that, I'm not sure on the dates, but the sheriff's department came back out with a team of people where they do that walk so many feet apart from each other in the area. So when me and the detective talked, I was like, those shoes weren't there. They had to be placed there.
That seems like such a significant piece of this mystery.
Yes.
We posted this on social media. We're asking people to share it because that's they watch the show tonight. We've got the phone number down there. If someone's watching, if someone comes across it, we ask you to share it as well. But people have been posting some comments as well. Francesca tonight says, the boyfriend is the last one who's seen her. Very suspicious. So I know there are no suspects at this point. But Kenitha, you mentioned that you didn't approve. When she went missing, has the boyfriend taken part in any searches? Has he kept in contact with the family? What has been his role since your daughter disappeared?
Okay, as far as I know, through the detective, he's been cooperative each time the detective has questioned him and his friend. On our very first search, which was February the 14th, he shows up, but because emotions were running really high, my son had even come back from Iowa, flew down to help us with the search. We're all emotional, and we just said it's your best interest not to stay. We appreciate it, but go. Because people were still angry at this point. She was the last person we know of that she was seen with. And we knew the relationship and types and what went on in it. So it's almost like a given that the family would be mad at him.
Mike, I wanted to put another one of the maps up that you provided us. This shows the distance from the boyfriend's house. How significant is where she is and how far away, and how big of a part of the investigation is all of that?
Yeah, I think geography plays a huge part in a lot of these investigations, and the fact that this is like 3/4 of a mile by way of a bird flying. But the thing that's more important to me is if we look at the point at the bottom of the map, last seen, and the point at the top, which is where the vehicle's recovered, that little curved road is actually the railroad grade. And so it would be really easy for someone just to drop a car and walk down the railroad grade in the dark and be completely unobserved by anyone. That troubles me a little bit. But on the flip side, I have to say everything I've read publicly is that the boyfriend has been cooperative, that a member of his buddy and his buddy's father who live at the home where this is located, both say they saw Ceiha drop him off at the house. So there's some inconsistencies there, but I think it really is going to boil down to what the testimony has been by the boyfriend, and to see if there's inconsistencies in what he's saying.
Kenitha, before we go tonight, I wanted to give you an opportunity to just speak out and to whoever is listening tonight, to let them understand how important this is, and if someone out there is listening who knows something, needs to have the courage to come forward.
Okay. I encourage and beg from the bottom of my heart for someone who does know something to come forward, and people don't just vanish. I knew my girl, and we spoke often, sometimes several times a day. So if you know something, just call it in. You can call it in anonymously. We do have a reward. But again, the reward is given if she is located, whatever the circumstances are. But I just beg the public to, if whatever little, even the smallest information you have, it could help us lead us into another clue or another tip to help us. So that's the biggest thing I can ask. This has been a really nightmare for me and my family.
I can't imagine what you're going through, Kenitha, but Let's hope that someone does come forward and help and give you the information, and we figure out exactly where your daughter is. Ceiha Taylor, thank you so much. It's not a one and done. We will stay on this story. Mike King, always great to have you on the program. Your expertise is appreciated. Profiling Evil is the podcast, folks. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that segment. And again, if you know anything about this case, please reach out to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office immediately. Don't put it off. This is really important. This family has waited a year for some answers. Thanks for watching Profiling Evil. Would you please take a moment and hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you get notified? And if you haven't signed up for the podcast, please do so. Man, it's really taking on a life of its own, and we're really excited about the things that are coming out on audio. So thanks for all of your support, and have a great evening.